The New York Yankees win the war against Scott Boras and get their get back for the way the Juan Soto deal happened a couple years ago, and they get Cody Bellinger at the right price that Brian Cashman wanted. He ruined the whole offseason, Brian Cashman, just to say this to Scott Boras. Wow, Brian. Woo! I hope that ego really, got satisfied, because at the end of the day, the New York Yankees wasted the whole offseason, trying to get Cody Bellinger for as cheap as possible and for the amount of years that you wanted, right? Just to ruin the offseason. All of these options, gone. Bo Bichette upgrading the infield, gone. All of these guys, Bregman. All you did was check in on them just to have the fan base happy, to think that you were actually going to make a significant move other than bringing back Cody Bellinger. But we all knew your logic is ridiculous, that, oh yeah, we took the Blue Jays to, game 4 without our ace. And if we run it back with our ace, we probably would have won the World Series, because they were a Miggy Rojas home run away from winning the World Series in game 7. So they were like, we're not that far from the Jays, and the Jays were one home run from Miggy Rojas. We just got to run it back with Garrett Cole. That was the logic. I knew it. And they're going to bring back Cody Bellinger. And the funny thing is, Scott Boras, right, was really trying to get a 7-year deal with a $40 million annual, salary for Cody Bellinger. And he was really trying to use the Mets yet again. But then the Mets said, are you out of your mind? And they actually traded for Luis Roberts, which caused Scott Boras to come back to the Yankees and say, hey, Brian, you won this one. You won this one. Because Cody Bellinger, like I said, was not worth $40 million a year for 7 years. He was, I feel like this deal, the 5 years, 162, is about fair. Cody Bellinger he's about to get around $30 million per year. And I think, in the low 30s is completely fine. He has a great glove. He's got a decent bat. But to get $40 million a year, I felt like that was outrageous. But I do have to say, the opt-outs in the second and third season, I feel as if, those are whatever, in a sense. And the no trade clause, I feel like that's kind of outrageous. Cody Bellinger's not that good to be having a no trade clause, in my opinion. As well, though, I will say, I do think the New York Yankees were better off not signing Cody Bellinger if I were making the decision after the offseason they had, letting basically every single potential upgrade in the infield just go. You genuinely got worse in the offseason, and I thought bringing in Cody Bellinger isn't going to move the needle on if you make the World Series or not. You literally went from a non-playoff team to a possible wildcard team as the last seed with Cody Bellinger now. So in my opinion, paying him $30 million the following year is kind of a waste when you have two young guys in Spencer Jones and Jason Dominguez, who I believe could have produced similar offensive numbers that Cody Bellinger is going to produce this season, and at a much cheaper rate, and you finally get to put these prospects to use. But instead, Brian Cashman, being the absolute imbecile that he is, said, you know what, I'm going to not trade my prospects and upgrade the team, and I'm not going to give them an opportunity to even develop into star players and sign Cody Bellinger. So it makes no absolute sense. You're going to be cheap, then be cheap and use your prospects that you've been hyping up and you don't want to trade for star players. But instead, you're like, we're going to keep Cody Bellinger and Trent Grisham, right? But we're going to still be cheap on upgrading them. It's just ridiculous, man, because the New York Yankees got worse. Got worse in the offseason because when it comes to the bullpen, they lost significant guys in Devin Williams, right? He was lights out second half of the season and the playoffs. And then you had Luke Weaver as well, who was the opposite. He was lights out the beginning of the season and then kind of fell off towards the end. But these two guys had decent ERAs. These guys are two important arms of the bullpen. And you end up losing them both to the Mets. And how did you replace them? You just didn't replace them, really. So you're quite literally running it back, same exact lineup. That lineup was absolute garbage, dog water in the playoffs, absolutely trash. You're going to run it back while the whole division got better. You're coming back weaker, even though you kept Bellinger. In my opinion, I would have definitely let Bellinger walk, right? Scott Boras, I would have been like, you screwed it. And then The Trent Grisham thing, fine. You live with it. You know, you accidentally signed him. Fine, just give him the year, then he's gonna be a free agent. And then at left field or center field, however you're going to line up the outfield, you could put Spencer Jones or Jason Dominguez, and then that's how you're going to be able to develop them because they're going to get a lot more at-bats. And the worst case scenario, they stink, right? But at least you know because you're not trading them, right? You're not going out and getting Steven Kwan. You're not getting any significant piece. You're not getting Freddie Peralta. You're not trading these top prospects. All you're doing is wasting them. Like you always do. Clint Frazier, Andujar, all these guys, you waste them. You don't give them opportunity and you don't trade them when their trade value's at an all-time high. So it's kind of like, what are you doing? You're just mishandling it. So you genuinely, the Yankees, all they're interested in is filling up those seats and making the playoffs. That's it. If they get absolutely humiliated 12-1 in the wild card round, back-to-back games against Boston, but it's in New York and they fill out the seats, they're going to call it a successful season. And that's absolutely outrageous. And if you had told Brian Cashman, right, hey, you have to have a better season, with this offseason or you're fired, this is not the way he would have gone. But he has the most, job safety that I've ever seen. This guy could literally win 60 games next season and he'll still have a job the following year. 1000%.